Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think what I'm trying and do is that 10 minutes seems to be a little bit more of a daunting task to get through a number of slides, but I'll try and make it within the appointed time. I
Yes,
think
sir.
I've been asked to talk about financial planning and investment, and I'll try and make this as simple as it can get so that it doesn't sound like credit hours for a lot of people that are listening in. I think the first thing that we need to be able to understand is that before you start talking about finance and investment, I think you can go to the next to the first slide after the title page.
Okay, I'll
If
share that
people are
now.
able to see that, yeah. So if you could go to that slide number 2, the first thing that you need to be able to look at and understand is basic money skills. And I think a lot of us lack basic money skills, and it's because of the way we trained to think about things. So there are 4 fundamental issues that we all need to understand. If you First of all is you have to pay yourself if you're starting a business or if you're going to set up a business. Pay yourself. But in paying yourself, you must defer the immediate requirement for pleasure within setting up your own business. The second issue that you need to look at is control your spending. All right. So, and in controlling your spending, according to Lin Yuan Tang, he says the wisdom of life consists in the elimination of non-essentials. So don't buy luxury. Don't buy things that are going to make you look like you actually own a business. All right. Get get the business to first run correctly before you can buy the things. Don't go get yourself a yacht or a Lamborghini because all of a sudden you've made your first $1 million. Right. The third one is manage your debt. And remember that if you don't manage your debt, you could be declared bankrupt. And in some countries, when you're declared bankrupt, you might not even run for office. So just being sure that you manage your debt correctly. And the fourth and most important money skill that you all have to try and live with is compound your investment. You get paid for the initial investment, and then you also earn on the investment itself. I think compound interest has been proved time and again to be the best element in terms of how you're able to carry out in terms of your work. This brings me to a question that we all have to look at is you have to decide on whether you want to become rich or wealthy. I think there's a difference. And I'll say this because I live in a country where they started mining copper around 1900. All right. The first copper mine was in Ron Antelope, which is in Luansha, and people are still mining copper to this day. That is wealth. All right. But riches, everybody is rich, like most employees are rich because at the month end, that's the only time that they have money. So you need to differentiate between the two. Right? Wealth is a lifetime event, whereas riches are a one-time event. So you have to make a choice. And when you're going to set up a business, you actually make a choice in terms of what do you really want to do? Is do you want to create a business that's going to be paying you a salary, or do you want to create a business that's going to end up creating wealth for yourself? Once you've come through those particular processes, in terms of making a choice of between riches and wealth, you can also make what I call a reality check. And this is something that I try to be able to do. I think a lot of people that are listening in, if you had to sit down today, take the number of years you have actually worked or have been in service, and assuming that there are no economists to tell you about inflation and increases for the period thus far, you can then multiply that by say the number of months that you've earned that amount, and assuming like here where we are, we have we are a Christian nation, and we always believe that 10% belongs to tithing. All right, hoping that you'll end up going to heaven. If you calculate that particular amount, you could actually check your bank balance as well, assuming that you are taking at least 10% of your earnings for the number of years that you've actually worked, and put that based on a 10% setting aside, how much money would you actually be able to end up with? And that's a self check that you should be able to try and do on your own, because that will help you determine exactly how much money is in your bank account. If you've got close to what you have in terms of calculation, that's pretty good, right? Once you've done that, then you work out with what I consider the two basic money rules. There are two basic money rules when it comes to finance, regardless of how you try to look at it. And you don't need a master's degree or some PhD in finance. The first basic rule is never lose money out of foolishness. And please, this foolishness has an asterisk. Okay? Don't make decisions that will make you regret what you actually did with the money. And rule number two, always remember rule number one. Okay? When you remember rule number one, it reminds you of rule number two. And that's the basic that you need to be able to work with. So when managing money, there's what I call the Trinity class of expenses. Anybody who makes money out of a business or out of a salary or out of a deal that you've actually worked, you have to spend your money out of three basic classifications. Accountants like somebody will tell you there are more than this, but there are basically three basic things that you save the money on. You save the money on, you spend your money on your family, you carry out a savings, or you spend money on what you might consider some form of a business. Those are the three basic categories. And even right now, the people that are attending this particular conference, if you had to ask each one of you without necessarily checking your handbags or your wallet, how much money you are carrying, a lot of you don't even know how much money you are carrying with just right now. Okay, that's how careless sometimes we can get to be. But we'd have to try and remember, carry enough money for what it's intended for. I mean, you're not becoming some form of inspector, but carry just enough for what it's intended for. Out of the three Trinity class of expenses category, the most important one is savings. Now, savings require you to understand that you are deferring your current process of getting excited with money, setting aside for a rainy day and making sure that you invest the money. I always use the example of pumpkins. It's only in America where about October, they spend so much time destroying all the pumpkins. If they have to remember that there's going to be Halloween for the next October, the pumpkin has to be planted. And that is the same attitude that we have to try and work with as far as savings is concerned. Is we set aside for a rainy day and for the future. And only when you save, that's when you can make an investment. But if you don't save, there's unlikely that you'll be able to make an investment. Now, the process of saving and the process of teaching how to save started a long time ago. There's a story in the Bible which was written over 2,000 years ago, and I'll give this verse out very freely. This is a time when I turn myself into a self-ordained minister, all right? This is Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30. And Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30 is a story that talks about saving, and it's usually called the parable of the talent. For those that might not be aware that, the story is actually there. So this story hasn't changed in terms of what you need to do with what you earn over a period of time. And I decided to say that it's Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30. And because they omitted something, and in order, verse 30 itself says that for those that do not fulfill, there'll be gnashing of teeth. And in order to fulfill the scripture, I have added a verse, which is really my own version, and says, for those without teeth, they will be provided, so that the whole scripture could be fulfilled. That's basically what you need to look at. So that's basically what you need to be able to look at in terms of understanding. And I think that story helps us understand exactly what we need to do with our resources and how we work with our resources. Saying, try and, for financial planning purposes, try and not use your terminal benefits if you're earning money out of employment. Try to save over a period of time and use that money so that you can work out the process before it becomes too late. And I think what we actually need to be able to do is to have confidence in the future. I mean, it's the greatest asset that we all get to have, right? And our job is really not to try and make a trail over a path. I think a lot of us are too scared of going into business or getting to start any form of business because we are comforted with the fact that there will always be a salary when you are in employment. Employment does not guarantee wealth. Okay. I'll end there for now, Nicole.
Thank you, Nathan, so much.
Hello, Nathan. So great to have had you talk to us about financial planning today. So some questions are coming through the chat box, and I am going to ask some of those. So somebody says that, could you please review Matthew 13? I think you alluded to that in your presentation. Can you just go a quick run over that again, please?
All right. I think Matthew 13, verse 3 to 16 is about the parable of the sower. You know, some seeds were planted where there was thorns, and I can't remember, but it's something that you'll be able to look at. The parable of the sower, in terms of you have to plant your seed correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to avoid to be a seminarian.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I get you. And then there's another question that has come through here. Brenda Longway asks, what would be the best investment he would recommend that works better?
Now, there's one thing about investment that a lot of people don't seem to understand, is that a lot of us want to plant the seed and almost suddenly get a tree. All right? Investment is a lifetime process. It's a long-term process. And you need to start slowly. All right? If you're going to have 10 bags of maize from a 5-acre piece of land, you need to have enough seed to put into that ground to end up with 10 bags. So if you want 100 bags of maize, you need to have enough big piece of land to end up with 100 bags of maize. And if we can apply those tenets in life, it becomes much easier for us. And you have to be prepared. If you get army worms, or you get a drought, or you get locusts, there will be destruction. And that's exactly what investment is all about. And the trouble is that people are so much in a hurry to say, oh, yeah, I've got $1,000 or I've got 1,000 kwacha and I need to make 10,000. I mean, it doesn't happen like that. If you got 1,000, you need to know that you can probably only make 100. Okay. If you got 10,000, you can make 1,000. And so that's what you need to be able to look at. But what is key is that you need to start from your first day on the job. The money you earn, you should set aside and save. Only after you've accumulated enough saving can you then be able to make an investment. You can't make investments without saving.
Great. Thank you so much, Nathan. So we have 2 more questions here.
I'll take those.
Okay, so somebody is asking, I think this person is not from Zambia, but they're asking what kinds of investments are most common in Zambia, especially for women. And then you could add that to what example of investments amount for someone making 12,000 a year or less. So I don't know whether that's 12,000 kwachas or $12,000. I don't know. So just some practical ideas, I guess, that people are looking at here. And that's the last question. So the person who asked the kind of investments that are common in Zambia is based in Canada.
Okay. Yeah. So the investments that you'll be able to make is that it's ORA, depending on what you're looking at. And I think I would like to answer this question from a different perspective, is that as an investor, what are you looking for? Are you looking for income, or are you looking for growth, or are you looking for both? So you make an investment based on what you're looking at. If you're looking for income, then you will look for assets that will provide you with an income that you'll be able to earn over a period of time. But if you're looking for growth, then you need what is known as patient capital and patient investment. So you will place funds and trying to work between 7, 15, or 20 years. And hopefully, you'll live that long enough to be able to enjoy that. But if you want for both, then you carry what you consider two silos. One portfolio gives you income, one portfolio gives you growth. I think for a lot of us, we are too scared to make investments. And we're too scared to make investments because we live in the comfort of a salary. The salary is the most destructive thing that has ever created against investment. Okay? Because you'll know that the salary will always be there. But what you're scared of is that when you make an investment, you always think, oh, I might be able to lose this. So what's going to be able to happen? Whereas when you get a salary at the end of the month, you will then be able to get paid the following month because salary is there, unless you lose your job. How many people have lost their jobs and have actually regretted that they should have lost their job earlier than when they actually lost the job when it was a bit too late? Some die of depression, yes, but there are people who've lost their job and have turned out correctly. And that is what I call entrepreneurship, okay? Ability to meander through your challenges. And sorry to Sombo, I know she's doing a PhD in entrepreneurship. I believe, I strongly believe, all right, that you cannot teach entrepreneurship in a classroom, and you cannot teach people to become entrepreneurs. Is that you harness their ability to actually become entrepreneurs out of the little things that they're doing. Because taking someone into a classroom, it's not like becoming a chartered accountant like Sombo. That's different. But entrepreneurs, no, all right? You will not, you will never be. And then somebody will come with all the nice qualifications, degrees, whatever it is. But I still think that the best way to be an entrepreneur is it being harnessed out. So what the women need to do, because they already have, women have an edge over men. I mean, I have a daughter and 2 boys. I know that, okay? Women have an edge over men. Their sense of responsibility towards aspects of things is actually much greater than it is with the boys. I know that some men might not agree with that, but that's exactly what it is. So if women can apply the same sense of responsibility within their own businesses, I think they have a greater a responsibility to take care of all the crazy men that live around this world.
Yeah, so just 2 things before we close. So you say that you cannot teach entrepreneurship, and so I am an entrepreneur, and I've been able to raise money to start my own enterprises at home in Zambia. One that I started in the solar energy sector kind of didn't really work out well. So that's a story for another day, but I'm very ready to talk about it. I can talk about how you can raise money, how you can, work out on your investments, and from a practical perspective. But then I also believe that, you can inspire people to become entrepreneurs. So the inspiration, the ideation, the implementation, and the evaluation. So I believe that, yes, you can teach people to think differently and to inspire them to become entrepreneurs. It's up to them to decide to actually do it. It's up to them to decide to look at Nathan as a model. Individuals can be models, to look at Nathan as a model and then follow his footsteps and learn from him. So we really appreciate that you were able to speak with us today. So thankful for the knowledge and the wisdom that you have given to us, and you're pointing us to what the Bible says about sowing a seed, and then also just trying to get us to understand that when you plant, the mangoes or the corn or the maize is not going to grow today. So we really appreciate your input to our conference.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to having to share with all of you. I think it's a great thing that you people have gotten to put together, and pleasure was mine.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you so much for starting up the Zambia Chamber for Small Businesses, huh?
Oh yeah, you know.
Visionary.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.